In this video, I'm going to share a simple method that you can use to structure lyrics in a way that makes them meaningful and logical. If you've ever been stuck in second verse hell, or unsure what to write about in your bridge, or even just trying to figure out how your lyrics should flow, this is a simple method that I've found really useful. Hi, I'm Tony from Songwriters Chop Shop. Olivia Rodrigo's driver's license is a great example of this method at work. But before I jump into the song, let me explain the concept. All lyrics, in some way, tell some kind of story. From the more traditional storytelling of old school folk or country songs to a song like WAP, or even abstract lyrics like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And stories work with a fundamental structure of beginning, middle and end. Or to put it another way, setup, conflict and resolution. It's a basic 3-act structure. But with songs, the narrative usually doesn't resolve. That's to say, things don't always wrap up in a nice little package by the end of the song. Look at Message in a Bottle by The Police, for example. It doesn't resolve with the castaway being rescued from the island lost at sea. Instead, it draws the conclusion that there's 100 million castaways looking for a home. So with songwriting, that means we can change resolution to conclusion. As in, you reveal an attitude or an opinion or realization about the song's drama. So that makes our 3-act structure look like this. Act 1, the setup. Act 2, conflict. Act 3, conclusion. Now this simple 3-act story structure appears all over the place, in movies, books, poetry, songs, jokes, even in conversations. And for a story to move logically from beginning to end, all you need to do is add a plot. People get confused about the difference between story and plot all the time. So what is the difference? Story is a sequence of events. It's what happened. Plot is what happened plus why it happened. What plus why. Here's a really well-known example. Story. The king died and then the queen died. That's what happened. A plot is the king died and then the queen died of grief. Grief is the why. It's the cause of the queen dying. So plot is what plus why. And a really easy way to map out a plot is by using these qualifiers. So, but, because, therefore, or as a result. And it's no coincidence this fits nicely into the 3-act structure. Act 1, the setup, so. Act 2, conflict, but because. Act 3, conclusion, therefore, or as a result. It's a solid structure, but it's also one of the most versatile and flexible. You can use it to plan out what you want to say in your lyric overall, you can use it in each section, you can even use it within one line of your lyric. Let's look at driver's license and see how it plays out. First, we'll zoom out and see how it's working in the overall plot of the lyric. If we break down what's happening in the song, it looks like this. Act 1, the setup. So, Rodrigo finally gets her driver's license. Act 2, the conflict. But she feels heartbroken that she can't celebrate with that special someone because they've moved on to another relationship. Act 3, the conclusion. Therefore, or as a result, she drives alone through the suburbs, trying to understand how it was so easy for him to move on. It's a pretty straightforward way to plan out what you want to say in your song. Let's look at how this information is distributed throughout the song sections. The first verse draws mostly on the Act 1 setup information, and it also draws a bit from the Act 3 information. She finally gets her driver's license, but instead of celebrating, she's driving around crying. Verse 2 draws mostly on the information from the second act and a little bit from Act 3. The chorus draws mostly from the information in Act 3 and expands on it. Verse 3 is drawing from the information in Act 2, but it's approaching it from a different angle than verse 2. Instead of talking about her ex moving on and how that's affected her, she talks about how that situation might look to her friends. The bridge is mostly drawing from the information in Act 3, but again, it's approaching it from a different angle. And this is what I mean about this being a solid structure, but also incredibly flexible. We have a solid 3-act structure whose information is distributed throughout the song sections in a way that the writer feels best tells the story. My point here is that using this structure or formula or whatever you want to call it by no means stifles or limits your own heartfelt emotions or creativity. What it does is gives you a way to organize those emotions and creativity in a way that allows your lyrics to flow forward in a logical and meaningful way. So now let's zoom in and see the same structure at work within the song sections. If you're new to songwriting, there's a free cheat sheet linked below that can take you from no idea to a finished song. Verse 1. So, I got my driver's license last week, just like we always talked about, because you were excited for me to finally drive up to your house. But today I drove through the suburbs crying because you weren't around. Verse 2. So, you're probably with that blonde girl who always made me doubt, because she's so much older than me, she's everything I'm insecure about. Therefore, today I drove through the suburbs, because how could I ever love someone else? The chorus. So, I know we weren't perfect, but I've never felt this way for no one. Therefore, I can't imagine how you could be so okay now that I'm gone. But I guess you didn't mean what you wrote in that song about me, because you said forever. Therefore, now I drive alone past your street. Just to be clear, there's no need to include the words so, but, because, therefore, or as a result in your actual lyric. Of course you can if you want, driver's license does. They're just an organisational tool. One of the most straightforward examples of this I've seen recently is in Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. Let's look at the first verse for a second. So, I've been trying to call. Why? Because I've been on my own for long enough. But maybe you can show me how to love. So do all lyrics work like this? No. Lyric writing is like any other form of creative writing. You can do what you want, you can express yourself any way you see fit. But now that you're aware of the structure, have a look for it in some of your favourite lyrics, and you might just be surprised how many lyrics do actually use this in some shape or form. So give it a go next time you're stuck. Catch you next time.